Hi, this is Jim Ave, and in this video presentation, I'm going to briefly discuss the professional portfolios, but primarily I'm going to cover um, information about the introduction and the executive summaries, rough drafts that you'll do for week one of our course. So a couple things that you should download for this presentation is the syllabus, and I'm on Appendix B in our syllabi, the professional portfolio template, and the rubric for this assignment. I think it's called a Kinesiology 792A Professional Portfolios Assessment Rubric. Those can be found in the course documents folder in the first module in our class. So what is this professional portfolio assignment all about? As it's described here in Appendix B of our syllabi, the purpose of the professional portfolio assignment is to allow you to develop a greater understanding of the professional standards in your profession. And you'll see in the course schedule about every month you'll submit a professional portfolio describing how you meet a particular professional standard at your place of employment. So what I'm going to do is just go straight over to the template that I've provided you here. I would like you just to go ahead and use the template as is. So on the first rough draft, what you'll do is professional portfolio number 1 here, your name, the date, and my name here. You have your table of contents that you'll include, and this will grow with the number of pages that you have in your portfolio. And to be honest with you, I just realized a mistake on this table of contents. This should be page 3, not page 2, because our introduction is on page 3. There you go. So on your first thing you're going to start off with your professional portfolio is an introduction. Keep this title right here. This is where your title shall go. Professional portfolio, and you're going to begin your professional portfolio providing an introduction. Give me your name, any kind of certifications that you may have, your educational or professional information, your contact information, any personal information that you want readers to know about you. I like to have you include a picture of yourself, and what you're basically doing in your introduction is introducing yourself to others who are going to read your professional portfolio. So you can provide as little or as much as you want in this professional portfolio introduction. I do not grade the introduction. You'll see that in the rubric or in the assignment, there is no grade for the introduction. It's just from a place for you to introduce yourself to others who will read your professional portfolio. But the basic things I want you to provide is your name, contact information, your educational and professional background, and a picture of yourself. Okay, pretty straightforward. So you're going to write that this week in week 1 of our class. And then the next section you're going to work on is what's called an executive summary. And what an executive summary is explaining the standard or domain so that a non-kinesiology, a non-PE teacher, a non-coach, or a non-strength and conditioning individual can understand it. So what are the standards or domains for this first professional portfolio? We'll go back to our syllabi and we'll look at our schedule. It's also in Moodle. So, well, first question is what standards do I follow? In the Appendix B, it's described there a little bit more in detail, but basically, if the majority of your pay is coming from being a PE teacher, then you should follow the PE standards. if you are majority of your salary comes from coaching, or if you're in a situation where your majority of your salary is from teaching, but it's not teaching PE, you're teaching history, but then you are also a coach. You're going to be working on the coaching standards because we're not going to do history standards in this class. So you follow the coaching standards. And if you're a strength and conditioning individual and that's your primary job, you'll follow the strength and conditioning standards. Now, some language here for the PE and the strength and conditioning. Well, they're called standards. For the coaching standards, there are domains. And then within each domain, there are standards. And within each standard, there are benchmarks. Okay, just some language in there. And then for the PE, the shape standards, there are national standards for example, there is the very first standard for PE is the physically literate individual demonstrates competency in a variety of motor skills and movement. And then at each grade level, we have specific grade level outcomes that are specific for each grade level. So if you are a PE teacher, you're going to provide an executive summary explaining to a non-PE teacher person, a non-PE person, what this means. The physically literate individual demonstrates competency in a variety of motor skills and movement. What does that mean to a non-PE person? Explain it in such a way that they can understand it. Try not to use a lot of terms that a non-kinesiology, a non-PE person will understand. And the same with coaches. Now, the coaches, gets kind of hard for some people to understand. Now, you'll see in your document that there's domain 1, which is titled Philosophy and Ethics. Then there are 4 standards within the domain. I don't want you to explain in detail the standards. I want you to give the reader a overview of what domain 1 in combination with standards 1 through 4 means, so a non-coach can understand what the NASP standards for coaches means. It's going to be similar with the strength and conditioning standard. There's the first standard that we're going to work on in this first rough draft is pre-participation screening and clearance. And there's some benchmarks, I'm not sure if that's the right term they use within strength and conditioning, but there's some terminology within there and some explanation. The key point in our first draft that you're going to write for me is your executive summary. Get back to here. Your executive summary should only be 1 to 2 paragraphs in length. It's real brief. That's why it's called an executive summary. You're providing the big picture. You're going to quote, cite the actual standard or domain. Now, for the coaches, you don't have to write all the standards. Just provide the title for the domain that's in the NASP coaching standards book. Cite it following APA. Quote it, cite it. Then provide a summary of what it means. Again, I've said this a few times now. Use language that a non-PE teacher, non-coach would understand. Provide a 1-2 paragraph description of what that standard or domain means. And then you're going to use a section title similar to up here that I have in the template. Now, if you're a strength and conditioning coach, I didn't put this in here. Strength. Oops. And conditioning standard 1. So that would be your section title if you're strength and conditioning. You only use one of these section titles. So if you're a PE person, you'll get rid of these, and you would just have the PE Education Standard Executive Summary as a title. Then start writing your summary here. Get rid of all this other junk that I have in here. Is just to explain everything to you. So that's what we're doing for week 1. If you cite sources, which you should, because you should cite the standards, you should have a reference page, and that's going to be at the end of this here. References, follow APA. Here's an example of what APA citation looks like for a book. Get rid of the rest of this stuff for the rough draft that you're going to turn in. The only thing that you should turn in for your rough draft this week is the executive summary. Well, I'll put it in order. You should have your title page, table of contents, your introduction, your executive summary, and your reference page. So get rid of the rest of the part of the template for your first rough draft this week. Again, your rough draft this week is your introduction and executive summary on the signed PE standard and or coaching domain and or strength and conditioning standard for for the first portfolio. Next week we'll have another rough draft, and that rough draft will be for the artifact section. And week 3 we'll have another rough draft for the reflection section. And then each week I'll give you feedback. How I'll give you feedback is typically I'll insert a comment over here, blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you something there, and that's how you should be able to see my remarks. Or I'll write stuff in red, change things. You can use red to font so you can see where I've made changes to your paper. I'll give you feedback after week 1. I expect you to make any changes that I've asked you to make in the first rough draft by you turning in your second rough draft. I'll read your second rough draft, give you feedback on your second rough draft. So when you make those changes, by the time you turn in your third rough draft, you write your third rough draft. I'll give you feedback on your third rough draft. And then by the time we get into week 4, you'll turn in your first full professional portfolio, and it should be really good because I've given you a lot of feedback. If you got questions, please post your questions in the Q&A forum, and hopefully I can clarify things for you.